Today is International Women's Day. You've probably heard of it. It's a global celebration of women's achievements, and we couldn't let it go by without shouting about the tireless and inspiring work of the scores of women who are fighting to curb the effects of climate change. There are so many incredible women working in sustainability, and we couldn't possibly mention them all, but I'm sure that you've already thought of a couple who inspire you to keep going.
So who are you inspired by, Sarah?
Who are the people that I find inspiring? There are so many incredible women, but off the top of my head, Naomi Klein really inspires me. She has a fantastic way of making something quite complex, really easy to understand. Greta Thunberg, who was the girl who started the school strikes, is amazing. She's an incredible speaker, very cool lady. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in America, again, I find it incredibly inspiring. She's an amazing speaker and she has some brilliant new ideas for overhauling the whole system. Caroline Lucas, leader of the Green Party, or ex-leader of the Green Party, is incredible. All the women at Hubbub, they're all amazing, every single one of them. Christiana Figueres, who is the former UN climate chief, said last year that climate change remains one of the greatest threats to achieving sustainable development, and its effects fall hardest on women. Countering this reality is the gritty determination, boundless energy and unwavering spirit of women across the globe whose energy, skills and knowledge are being used to deliver solutions. And these are some of the women that we wanted to talk to today. Across the globe, there are a lot of women who are bearing the brunt of a lot of the negative impacts of climate change. But we also hold a huge amount of power in the shift for change. Educating women and girls across the world has been listed as one of the top 10 things that we can do to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So the work of women in sustainability is incredibly important, and fighting something like climate change, which is a global issue which has huge and unpredictable consequences for everybody across the world, is no easy job. We wanted to find out how the women that we admire stay motivated, who inspires them, and what we can all do to work together to solve the problems of a changing climate. I am here with Kieran. I am here in the Hubbub HQ with Gillian. We are here at DEFRA speaking to Emma. I am here in the Hubbub HQ with Heather. Thank you so much for coming to speak to us. Can you tell us a little bit about how you've got to where you are and what you do?
I run a platform called sandstories.org. It's a platform dedicated to creating awareness about a little-known environmental crisis called sand mining. How I came to this? Quite by chance, actually. I worked in the training industry for over 10 years, had a sort of midlife crisis, decided to focus more on the environment, and that's what brought me here to London.
Thank you so much for speaking to us. So can you tell us a little bit more about how you got to where you are and what you do?
So I am currently chair of the Environment Agency, and the Environment Agency is the key environmental regulator here in the UK. We also have responsibility for flood and coastal risk management. So colleagues of mine up and down the country are out working with local communities, better protecting them from the risk of flooding and the physical risks of climate change.
Incredible. And the questions that we're asking everybody is, why should women in particular be caring and be invested in climate change?
So women have a key role to play. In fact, everybody has a key role to play in climate change. But one of the reasons why it's really important to call out women and women's involvement in climate change is that the vulnerability that some women in some parts of the world face right now because of the physical impacts of climate change. Some of the hugely significant weather events have adversely impacted women. And similarly, when you think about those women and girls who are still responsible for bringing water and energy into their households, they are adversely impacted by the impacts of physical changes, the physical risks that come from climate change. So it's really important that we are making sure that we're bringing women into the decision-making processes.
Thank you so much for speaking to us. Would you be able to tell us who you are and what you do at Hubbub?
Yeah, so I'm Heather. I am the creative director at Hubbub, and it's my job to direct our campaigns, the creative side of them, the design, the communications, and make sure that they're achieving our charitable mission.
Amazing, thank you. And why should people care in the first place about climate change?
It's such an important issue. I think it's something which obviously affects everybody or will affect everybody day to day, even if they don't realise it. And women in particular, I think there's so much research out there to show that women are going to be mostly affected or are being mostly affected by the impacts from climate change. Yet when you look at the structures and the people who are making decisions and influencing policy and business, that they're massively underrepresented. So I think, yeah, the more women we can get caring about climate change, hopefully we can readdress the balance.
So I'm busy developing a startup which is focused on climate education. And really the goal is to help people understand the changes that are happening to the planet and how they can take action.
Amazing.
And yeah, we're looking at kind of 4 different target audiences: civil society, the public sector, finance sector, and then also people who are kind of professionals working in jobs who might be a little bit disgruntled with their current work, and really trying to show them all the opportunities that exist in the low carbon economy and the amazing careers that they can have in that space.
And what's the organisation called?
The organisation is called Make Tomorrow.
Lovely. I'll put a link in the description if you want to find out some more about that. Just moving on from that, it would be interesting to know what are the kind of steps that people in those businesses can take to make change.
One thing that we often don't think about as individuals is kind of the power of conversation and who we speak to about kind of how we're feeling, the anxieties that we might have around climate, how kind of just sharing that signals to other people that you're concerned, and that kind of if they share that concern as well, it makes it easier for them to speak about it.
Why is climate change something that women particularly should be involved in?
That's a good question. I think it's because women will be more affected the most. The burden of care usually rests on women. If you look at developing economies, maybe in Africa or India or I don't know, in many other places, it's the women who are responsible for fetching water. With climate change and there's so much uncertainty, it's the women who will have to work harder.
And why should women be working in climate change particularly?
So I think it all comes down to trying to address that balance. Whenever you look at trying to think about things that are going to impact on climate change, that will be everything down from individual actions all the way through to policy and the way businesses are run. And again, coming back to those people who are making decisions in all of these different areas, it's really important that the insights and motivations from women are fed into those decision-making practices. So I think it's so important that women have a role and are able to feed into that. A topic that has been coming up more and more is the plastic content and the potential health impacts of certain types of sanitary ware. Now, we've been having this conversation in the office, and obviously with lots of us being women, we're bouncing ideas around and we're saying, actually I had no idea about that, and that's really, really concerning. But when you look at people who perhaps running these businesses that make sanitary ware items, they might not know about how much and how important and how worried we are about the impact of that. So the more we talk to them about this, hopefully we can start to get more action.
And how do you think we can inspire the next generation of women to engage in the battle with climate change?
Well, I think wherever you look, we are seeing women rise to the fore in the roles that they are taking. I was recently appointed to a new global commission on adaptation set up by and organised by the UN Secretary General. One of the co-chairs is one of the women I would call out as well, very inspiring, Kristalina Georgieva, who is the Chief Executive of the World Bank. But on the commission, a whole raft of amazing women from around the world who are there because of the expertise and the leadership roles that they currently have. People like Christiana Figueres, who we all recognise from the leadership role she had with the Paris Treaty. Similarly, Patricia Espinosa, who is currently leading that process for the UN. There's a whole raft of brilliant women from around the world who are sitting on the Global Commission.
So that leads us nicely into our next question of, do you have some women who inspire you to keep creating change?
Again, throughout my career, there have been some phenomenal women that I have worked with. My career started in green and ethical investment. A lot of the early work was led by Tessa Tennant. I'm a huge fan of Polly Curtis, who leads the Cambridge Institute for Sustainable Leadership. Jessica Fries from Accounting for Sustainability. So wherever you are around the world, we are seeing women rise to the fore in leadership positions.
And is there a woman that inspires you to keep motivated?
I mean, there's so many women. I've really, over the years, come to appreciate many strong women. I really find Bethan and Joey, they run the Escape retreat. So this is a retreat that's where they bring together women from different disciplines and different backgrounds and things like that, just in a space to reflect about what they want, the kind of support they need, and for women to support each other in their plans. And I think that's so beautiful. It's really lovely. I find that work very inspiring. I also find Kiran Bedi very inspiring. I don't know if you know about her. So she's one of the top police officers in India, and I was named after her.
Fantastic!
She towed away she authorized this person to tow away the Prime Minister's car many years ago because it was parked in a no parking zone. So
Amazing.
Someone with real, she's a strong woman, someone who's not afraid to speak truth to power, and I find that incredibly inspiring.
And generally, across the board, what can we all be doing to live more sustainably?
The one thing I've been doing more and more is just questioning how the stuff that I use day to day has got to me and what it actually is. So the biggest impact you could have if you do want to make a real difference is to mix up and have a variety of food in your diet. So thinking about where your food has come from, and also thinking about a good balance, reducing meat, even if it's just for one day a week, it is a really helpful thing. I've sort of done it by accident. I never intended to be vegetarian, I just decided to start reducing it, and now I'm mostly vegetarian. So
incremental steps can make a big change.
Yeah.
Big change.
Big change.
So another question that we're asking everybody is what they would say to themselves 10 years ago if they had the chance to give themselves some advice.
Well, I've spent quite a bit of my time over the last 10 years working with the 30% Club, which is all about getting more women into leadership positions. One of the key things I learned from that was about working with men who often are the decision makers, and if you're not working with them to also champion female leadership, then you can just be talking to women and not making the progress that we need. And since we started working as a group, we've achieved a huge amount in terms of the progression of women throughout organisations.
And the question that we're asking everybody is that if you could give yourself one piece of advice to you 10 years ago, what would it be?
I love asking questions and ask way too many here at Hubbub, but I would definitely have started that 10 years ago if I had sort of realised how important that was. And I think trusting your instincts, and even if a question or an idea seems really obvious, it's not necessarily been thought of. So it's always good to ask.
So my next question to you is, if you could go and meet yourself 15 years ago, what would you say to yourself?
I would say follow your heart, because I think when you're younger, you're much more worried about what people will think, whether it's the right thing to do, whether you'd be making a mistake because it doesn't, circumstances may not seem right just yet. You urge myself to follow my heart. Yeah, things fall in place automatically.
And what would you say to yourself if you met yourself 10 years ago, what would be the piece of advice you would give yourself?
Yeah. So I think my 20s were like riddled with so much angst.
Yeah.
About kind of what should I be doing with my life? What are my skills? What are my talents? And I think I would say to myself, kind of just chill out. Everything will be okay. Like, trust in the process. Like, you're intelligent, you have the skills that you need, and just go out there and kind of really just follow your gut. I think that would be a really good learning, because when I was younger, I think I was a lot more afraid to just follow my gut. And I think as you get older and you have more experiences, and you kind of learn to trust it.
That's really interesting, because that's actually what a lot of all of the women that we've interviewed have said.
Yeah.
Follow your heart, trust your instincts, trust in yourself. It's like really, there's a nice thread that's running through everything. Yeah. And nice to hear as somebody in my 20s. Yeah. That's actually a nice bit of advice to be given by women in leadership positions that we've been talking to. It was amazing to talk to all of the women to find out more about what motivates them and how they got to where they are. I was really shocked that a lot of them said that the main reason that women should be working in climate change is because they are the most affected. And it was really poignant that a lot of them said that we should trust in ourselves more, follow our hearts, trust our guts, and take action. If you have been inspired by any of the women that we've spoken to today, I've put all of the information about them in the description, as well as all of the women who inspired them, so you can go and find out more about them. If we have missed off your sustainability idol, then let me know who they are in the comments so I can go away and research them. Happy International Women's Day, and thank you so much for watching. And that's the end of the episode. To find out more and to get inspired, head to our website www.hubbub.org.uk, where you'll find loads of top tips to give you the spark to do things differently. Tune in for the next episode and come and join the Hubbub.